Hi, I'm Kath Brown. I'm the Lifestyle Director of the Telegraph, and I am absolutely delighted to be here today to talk to Pippa Wicks, who is the Executive Director of John Lewis, and she's going to be sharing her words of wisdom on adapting shopping habits of consumers, which I'm sure you're all very keen to hear about. Pippa joined the John Lewis Partnership in August 2020 and is accountable for all elements of the John Lewis brand. So that's commercial, customer, all the retail channels, as well as their financial services businesses. Along with 6 colleagues, she leads the John Lewis Partnership as part of the executive team, reporting into the chair, Sharon White. So I think you've all been here for most of the day, so you're familiar with the questions on Slido. So please do submit your questions for Pippa, and we'll look as we go along. So Pippa, hello.
Hi.
Really good to see you.
Lovely to be here.
Now, you have been called the turnaround queen after a very successful period working at the co-op. What do you put that success down to, and what are your golden rules for growing a business strategy?
Oh, well, it's lovely that people are so generous with the description.
It's a very good name to be.
Yeah. So I love transforming things, businesses, my kids and husband would say, and home.
Yeah.
I just love improving things and just trying to get the best out of a brand, a business, the people who work in it. And it's just given me a buzz right from when I first started work all those many, many years ago now. And in terms of the things that I kind of really find come up as being very important pillars through each of them, and it doesn't matter whether it's, I've turned around plastic bag companies, I've obviously was at the co-op for a long time now, lovely with John Lewis, all sorts of different, mostly consumer-orientated businesses or retailers, is first of all, you've got to be really outcome-driven. So what is it that you are really trying to deliver? So sort of outcomes, not inputs, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
So an outcome might be, if you're starting out in business, we want to get listed with these 3 companies. And then you set the teams free to go do that. The second thing is not to have too many outcomes. So keep it down to a really small number. And if you're leading a business, startup, transforming, I think you've got to be able to operate at 50,000 feet 1 minute, i.e. very strategically. And at the next minute, you've got to go down to knowing the numbers incredibly well, at least as well sometimes as the people around the table, and knowing what levers you're going to pull to make money.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of ability to move up and down, sometimes within 5 minutes of because the conversation will move.
Yeah.
So I assess those, and then obviously getting the right team. There's nothing, if you haven't got the right team, it's really hard. If you have got the right team, gosh, it makes a huge difference. It's so much easier. So outcomes, a very few number of them, moving up and down, and getting the right team.
And how do you find your team? Is that something that you do instinctively, or do you have kind of methods for finding the right people?
So sometimes it's people we've worked with in the past who've really done an amazing job. Obviously, if we're using headhunters or adverts or whatever, then
do you just know when someone comes in? You think.
Well, one of the acid tests I always apply is: would I work for this person?
Yeah.
And if I can't answer that unhesitatingly, yes, I would, then I don't take it any further. That's a really, because I think it's really important. If you're bringing someone into a team, you need to be able to look everybody in the eye and say, well, I would be really comfortable working with for this person.
Yeah.
I always try to have people who are smarter than me, because it makes life much easier. And I love to be challenged. I don't have all the right answers. I want people who really care about whatever mission we're on, whatever business we're in. And I want them to bring their big brains into the room and their passions into the room. So those are the kind of things that I would look for, if that makes sense.
And you were just telling me what you did at the co-op, what you achieved, how you did turn it around. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Because that's so interesting.
Very similar to John Lewis, actually. Businesses both with well, in John Lewis's case, 158-year heritage, 175-year heritage at Co-op. Amazing brands, beautiful brands that had achieved extraordinary things over their lifetimes.
Yeah.
So you feel they're very precious.
Yeah.
And I feel very responsible for continuing that legacy.
Yeah.
And passing on whatever it is we're creating in the best possible shape to the next generation that come in and then run it going forward. But in both cases, it came back to what do our customers want? How are they living their lives? What matters to them? In John Lewis, we have a customer closeness program. It's always on. We're always doing it.
Yeah.
We go. We do focus groups. We go into customers' houses. I go shopping with them. We talk to them about what they like about our competitors, what they like about us or dislike, and it's part of the DNA. And I learned this from, I don't know if anybody here knows Stu Leonard's, but they're a big sort of food retailer on the east coast of America.
Right.
And they spend time with customers every Saturday morning. He is with customers about, do you like the fresh fish? Do you like it on ice? Do you want it in the plastic thing? You know, and that's the kind of...
So really getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah. So in all of the situations, it's customer at the heart.
Yeah.
And then what matters to them, and then you go from there.
Yeah. And that you spend a lot of time with customers. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Like going sitting in their sitting rooms and saying, okay, how do you shop online? Looking at, how they do it. It was very interesting that my customer wanted a trampoline, and so she was searching for trampolines. And you think, do people go into the website and type in trampoline? No, they don't do that. They do, so you learn a lot by actually watching what they do,
what their journey is to find the product they want.
Now we obviously have expert customer journey people, but actually watching it yourself, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
And often I like to go and sit in call centres and listen to the calls that come in from customers. What's on what's not working. Yeah. What do we need to fix? And it all kind of starts there, really.
Yeah.
I remember going into the White Company with my customer, and we were shopping in John Lewis as well, and we were in Brent Cross, actually. And she was feeling the cashmere, and just listening to her, commenting, and then we went in and felt the cashmere in John Lewis, and it was so helpful.
Yeah, so you could really compare and understand what she was looking for.
Yeah.
And you are very focused on creating a purpose, which is what you think is the key to business success. What does that mean? So
both Co-op and John Lewis are very purpose-led organisations. In both cases, they needed to refresh. We did in both situations, we did a bottom-up, colleagues at Co-op, partners at John Lewis, bottom-up process to get the front line involved, old partners who'd left the business involved, to really think about how we could modernise the purpose. And the reason it's such a helpful thing, it's like a North Star. It helps you prioritise. We laid out all of our kind of charitable positions and all the things we were doing and looked at it against that new purpose, it shows you that actually you're dissipating your energy too widely and where you should focus it down. So it can be incredibly liberating from a sort of prioritisation point of view.
So it's let's stop doing this and just do this.
And
this
then
is
I think
the thing that matters.
From a partner attraction or a colleague attraction point of view, I think more and more people want to work with organisations that have got a meaningful purpose, and that when they get out of bed in the morning, it really lifts them. And we've just announced our Happier Futures Foundation at John Lewis, where we are supporting for the long term care experienced adults into the workplace. We'll help them with CVs, we'll give them work experience, we'll give them interviews, they'll get jobs with John Lewis. We want to partner with other employers to do this as well. And the reaction we've had to both the launch of the foundation, but also we focused our Christmas ad to raise that awareness. We used the platform of what used to be 20 million viewers is now 38 million, which is amazing, just to raise the awareness, really. And obviously an ad is only the start of something. But there's so much more that together with all sorts of people in this country we can do to support those care experienced people into work. And that has a really positive effect on customers as well. That makes them feel... Customers have been amazing.
It's very...
And we have these giving trees. You can't watch it without
crying, can you? Has everyone seen the John Lewis ad? It's a real tearjerker.
It's really gone beyond our expectations, actually. It's lovely to see people in store. We have these giving trees where you can take a little tag off a tree and then add it to your shopping basket, and the money then goes to support these
No,
charities I'm working with. And honestly, the amount we've raised over £200,000 in sort of 10 days or something, it's extraordinary.
Wow.
And people are really getting behind this, which is lovely, and just raising the awareness. We've had lovely feedback from care experience people themselves.
Oh,
actually.
that's amazing.
Yeah, as well.
Oh, congratulations. The Telegraph reviewed the ad very favourably.
Thank you.
and said that the John Lewis ad is a benchmark for the health of the nation. And it really made me think of the pressure that must be on you. You know, how did you sleep the night before it?
Well, it actually
came
started.
out?
The lack of sleep started earlier than the night before. So in May, I can't remember now, but I just remember being in the office with my lovely business manager, sort of chief of staff, and looking at her and saying, "Oh my heavens, the Christmas ad."
Yeah.
We do spend a lot of money on it.
There's a lot riding on it.
We spent a whole lot less this year, very, very deliberately. We did it very differently. Cost of living crisis, energy. You know, we have to do something. I just knew my gut had to be something different. It couldn't be just yet another lovely story or just yet buy more things.
Yeah.
And we'd launched our Refresh Purpose earlier in the year, so we just put a cold towel around our heads and thought about, is there a way to bring this together? I mean, it's in a very sensitive way. I mean, these are sensitive issues.
Yeah.
And could we do that? So we tried our hardest.
And you cracked it.
We've been really blessed.
Yeah.
We've been really blessed. The team did amazing work.
It was setting the right tone, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was challenging this year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because, you know, making ads, we start making an ad 21 months before it goes live. We're already doing next year's now. So you can prepare, you know, all those months in advance, but you've got to be in touch with the zeitgeist of the sort of nation. And
so you can't plan it too
so you've got to,
close.
You know, how do you manage that? So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But we could see from our customers they wanted a really connecting Christmas because of the, you know, previous 2 Christmases and the pandemic. We could see they wanted acts of kindness and doing rather than lots of things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talk to 12 million customers on a regular basis, and we could see what they wanted. And so that really played very deeply into how we thought about where we might go.
But at the same time, you still want them to shop, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
So, because, you know, that's good if people buy your products. So it's finding that balance, isn't it, really? And
but I think, you know, it's interesting. It definitely boosted trade because we're taking a stand on something that people has resonated.
That's so interesting.
So that's positive. That's not why we did it, but it has had that beneficial effect. The other thing is that we find that and our recently introduced new entry price point brand, Any Day, which for those of you who shop John Lewis is that orange. I mean, that's brought in over 1 million new or lapsed customers.
Yeah, it's
so half of people who've shopped it are new or lapsed, so that's great, they're back. I think the ad, we can see who's watched the ad and what it's doing, and we've got a younger audience as well, so that's lovely. And obviously, university students are buying Any Day for uni because it's such good value.
I bought it for my son going off to uni.
Thank you.
I did. Well, it's very inexpensive. It's
even my son said, "Mum, wow, that's cheap."
Yes.
I said, "No, darling, it's greatly designed and very good value for money."
Yeah. And how are you seeing, you know, that is the theme of this session, how are you seeing customers changing their habits, their shopping habits, and how are you adapting to that?
So prior to the pandemic, we were 40% online, 60% in store. Obviously, during pandemic, we were 100% online and very blessed by having an enormous online business that we could just scale. That was such a blessing. Post-pandemic, I would say we're sort of 55, 60% online, 40% in shops. And people really want to come into shops as well as shop online. And they're loving the personal service that they get, trying things on. Our research shows us that our customers, 70% of the journeys that they do are a mixture of they start online and go into a store, then they might buy it online, or they start in store and then buy. So 70% require both the online and the store to make the purchase. Because they're quite considered purchases. If you're buying a sofa or a mattress or a bed, or in fact what we're seeing is people really want to try on fashion too. So yes, all these lovely online-only fashion places. But for our customer group, they want to try it on and feel the fabrics and does it fit me and all those kind of things. So we're seeing that lovely balance of store and online. Affordability is a massive thing. So our own brand, Any Day, and the John Lewis brand, which we've relaunched, very important because they are great value and style in that lovely combination. We're seeing that they want to spread their spend. So people started shopping for Christmas in August,
Right.
because they wanted to spread it over August,
Was that a
September,
lot-
October,
that was-
November,
is
December.
that earlier than usual?
We have some in August, but it's been interesting
Yeah.
to see. I think people are really spreading.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we can see is spreading the payment through things like interest-free credit.
Right.
So we've got more opportunities for interest-free credit on our big items like furniture and beds. People really want to be able to do that.
Yeah, they want to spread the cost.
Spread that
so,
too. So
yeah.
that's important. We're seeing also ethics and sustainability. So we're doing a lot more rental. We do fashion rental with her.
Right.
Starts at £20, and it's not just our brands. It's lovely brands like Sephora and.
Right. And is that taking off, the rental?
It's doing really well.
Yeah.
And then we've got Little Loop, which is a subscription rental service for children. Of course, children go like weeds, don't they? So
Yeah.
what you do is you pay a subscription, then when they've grown, you take back what they've done and get another
Oh,
set
brilliant.
of products. We've got bicycle rental. We've got beauty recycling.
And people are really buying into that now.
Completely. We
Yeah.
give £5 back for 5 products you bring back, packaging. We've got fashion recycling. And actually our customers really want that. And we can see in our own brand, this is one of our own brand products, this is made with the most sustainable viscose that you can get
Right.
in the market. And customers really want that. They want us to do the hard work for them.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got, BCI
care.
cotton and all that. So I would say it's about affordability, including spreading the cost, stores and online for us.
Yeah.
And also, the sort of ethics and sustainability, the recycling aspect
Yeah.
is increasingly important.
Yeah, you can't not think about that anymore,
No.
can you? Yeah. And as women, we all are used to the juggle. How do you manage your juggle? You've got a family, you've got a very high-powered job. How do you manage the juggle?
Lots of different things, really. No big silver bullet, but lots of different things. So my partner is incredibly supportive, and he's learnt to cook.
Right,
So
that
he
helps.
didn't when we were first together. And then one day I used to leave him Tupperware containers in the fridge with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on it, right? Then I forgot one week.
All times have changed.
Yeah. When I came back, he was still alive. So I said, what did you do? And he said, well, I went to M&S and bought some food. So anyway, it went from there. So during the week, he does a lot of the cooking and stuff, and then that weekend I do it. He's always been great with the kids, so without a partner of some sort, that would have been tricky. He's always been very good at helping me set boundaries. So when my son was born and I had a nanny, went back to work, he said, so you'll be home at 6:30 when the nanny leaves every night, and looking forward to that. And I thought, am I going to do that?
Yeah.
Because you can't keep stretching her hours, it's not fair. Anyway, so I got home at 6 o'clock. I mean, obviously there were a few business dinners or I was on business trips, but when I wasn't,
Yeah.
and actually that discipline has stayed. So my son doesn't need a nanny because he's 22. He might like one though. But my day stops at 6:30 unless there's a massive crisis or something.
Yeah.
Because if I don't really take the evening to refresh, get a good night's sleep, then because it's so full on in the day.
Yeah, it's a good message.
And we don't, as an organisation, in John Lewis brand, we don't send emails after 7 at night. We don't send them before 7 in the morning or over the weekends. You know that lovely schedule send button?
Yeah.
So when I arrived, it was 24/7. Emails were pinging in and out of everybody's thing, and they couldn't be with their families or their friends properly. So we had to anyway, now it's...
Yeah,
people
I'm
are
liking
doing
the sound of this
it.
culture.
Just because we need to be fresh, and we won't be if we're not sleeping properly. So some things like that. I mean, I bike to work because if I don't get enough exercise, or kind of walk around between meetings if I can. So just lots of little things, really.
Yeah.
But I think the life changer for me, because if you do turnaround transformations which are really full on, for as many years now as I've done, I wouldn't be able to do it if I hadn't had that discipline around the work day, which, I mean, I start early, but I get a proper break and a proper night's sleep.
Yeah.
that makes a big difference.
One of the things you said that resonated with me was you don't do slide presentations, or you do them as little as possible, because there's a lot of slide presentations going around.
Oh my God, that was another
Why
thing.
don't you like them, and what do you do instead?
You know, if you're making 100, I used to get, when I first started John Lewis, decks of 150 slides, just pre-reads. Okay, well, first of all,
Who has time for that?
Who has time for that? Secondly, how much time was spent creating that?
Yeah.
Which they weren't either resting or doing other things, customer-facing things that added value. So again, along with the nothing before 7, nothing after 7, emails, please, thank you, we said it's 5 slides.
Yeah.
And if you need tiny appendix, it has to be tiny, or it's 2 sides of A4. And honestly, they went into shock. And then I remember one meeting where another sort of 300 slides came through, and I got to slide 6, and I said, I'm really sorry, the cursor on the iPad's not, I can't get past slide 5. And they thought I had a mechanical problem. And I said, no, actually the point is, you know, and actually the discipline of synthesizing things, I don't need to see the homework. What I'd love to see is what you've concluded and what your recommendation is.
Yeah.
So
all those graphs. I don't need to see graphs. Do you?
So, well, it's, sometimes you do, actually. In one of the one pages that we have, the graphs are amazingly useful, but it's just the synthesis. It really forces you to really get to the heart of what really matters.
Yeah.
And I think writing 5 slides is harder than writing 150.
Yeah.
And writing 2 sides of A4 is harder than writing 10 page.
Yeah, because you've really got the information down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah. So it's the sort of... and we keep having to remind everybody that occasionally, but it does make an enormous difference.
Yeah.
And I no longer know how to make slides. I used to be a PowerPoint queen, but I can't do it now.
I've forgotten how to do it as well.
So.
Now, I do think we need to talk about the cost of living crisis a little bit. Is it a disaster for business?
I don't think it's a disaster. I think it's really hard. I think it's really hard for everybody in the country. It's hard for customers. It's hard for our partners. I think lots of really helpful things going on. So, for example, we gave our partners a cost of living payment to help them with the winter bills, and many other organisations have done that as well. I do think the energy cap is an important, and we campaigned for government to put that in place. I think it is tough.
Yeah.
You know, cash is king.
Yeah.
You need to be really focused on cash and not holding lots and lots of stock, thinking about how you're phasing your buying.
Yeah.
But we'll get through this. We can get through this.
You said you can't doom and gloom your way through it, which I thought was a good line. Don't get sucked in by the doom and gloom.
So some of my partners said to me the other day, you know, Pippa, you seem reasonably positive at the moment. And my response is, we're really well set for Christmas. We've got great product. We've got great availability. We've got some lovely promotions that are really coming in. We can't do any more than the teams have already done.
No.
And my sort of view is, if you have lots of miserable thinking, then you'll have lots of miserable results.
Yeah.
So you've got to be realistic and in touch with what the issues are.
Yeah.
But actually, you can't gloom your way out of this. You've got to say, what are the things that we can control?
Yeah.
Control those. And if there are things we can't control, then let's look at some mitigations.
Yeah. But I think that's a very good line. Miserable people produce miserable results. Can't be miserable.
Yeah.
Now, I've got some questions from people. What is the best way to adapt whilst reducing overhead costs? And how is John Lewis responding to inflation? Is that a tough question?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm sure it's on everybody's minds, whether you're in business or not, frankly. So we've tried to, from an inflation point of view, we've tried to be very thoughtful about where we do increase prices and where we don't. So we held school uniform prices this year because we felt that was helping families.
Yeah.
But we have nudged up a little bit in other areas where we've had to. I mean, this is public knowledge. Our freight costs have gone from 7 million in 2019 to 67 million. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so that is true for all retailers.
Yeah.
So before you get out of bed, you've got to have sold enough to cover that and or found other ways. The other thing that crises like this do is it makes you do things that you might have taken a longer time to do, and forces lovely creative thinking. So in the last financial crisis, Waitrose introduced Essential Waitrose. Many of you, I'm sure you buy that. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant own brand. It's huge. It's a $1.5 billion business in its own right. We also introduced Click and Collect as a cheaper way for people to get their product rather than having to pay delivery.
Right.
IKEA introduced flat pack furniture in the last recession and things. So I think we'll see a flood of creativity.
Yeah.
We're already seeing people saying, is this making enough of a difference to our mission? If not, let's stop doing it and save the money. And being sort of almost surgical about that.
Yeah.
And, lots of organisations have already been through headcount reductions. There will be more to come. You just need to do those in the most sensitive way that you can and supportive way.
Yeah.
But I think we'll all raise our game.
Yeah, you have to.
To this.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is a good question that I'm sure lots of people would like the answer to. What's the best way to get products into John Lewis or retailers or retailers in general? Because it is hard for small businesses to access the right network. Do you have tips for that? So
we work with Great British Exchange. Some of you might know that. And one other organisation slipped my mind, forgive me for that. And they're a really lovely way for us to get to meet new entrepreneurial businesses. And we have pop-ups in our branches. We do a lot at Christmas. We've got Christmas markets now where a lot of the people on the market stalls are independents and startups and so on. And we love that. We love the newness. We love the exclusivity. So
you get to meet new producers. Yeah.
So try Great British Exchange, or the other one whose name I can't remember, but we'll get the name to you if anybody's interested in that. But, knock on the door. I've given somebody my email address today. You can always write to me and I'll find you the right person, she says, looking at how many people are on the room. Could you spread out your emails over the next few days?
You'll get them all tomorrow morning or tonight even.
But we love newness. We love entrepreneurs. We love supporting businesses.
This is a question I've thought about too, actually. What are your thoughts on things like Clana? Are they an ethical option? And what are your customer sentiments towards that? Because it is spreading the cost, but are you luring people into debt? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
I think you've got to be really careful and thoughtful about these kinds of products. People do want to spread cost, but we do want to make sure that customers don't end up in a very difficult situation. I mean, the whole market regulation in that space is going to increase. We've seen, people talking about that already.
Yeah.
I think if properly regulated and done with proper credit checks and things, these things are good, but they have to be done properly. I have a hunch, I'm not an expert in this area, but I have a hunch that a little bit of regulation needs to catch up with where we are in the market right now, just to make it a bit safer and a bit more
safer,
thoughtful.
Especially with young people, I think, that don't necessarily understand the whole concept of where debt can lead you,
Yeah, but that's why I think rental things are quite interesting too.
Yeah.
If this Christmas you can spend 20 or 40 quid renting most of your stuff over the Christmas period rather than actually buying something, I think that's really important as well, which is why we've got our fashion rental business. Yeah.
This ties into what we were saying earlier. How do you balance the drive for sustainability with the desire to drive sales? We sort of touched on that, didn't we?
I think the two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
If you don't have enough sustainable, ethical product credentials and products, your sales will only go one way, and that's down.
Yeah.
We know that this is increasingly important to customers, and we are now designing with circularity in mind. We have commitments to have a buyback or a take-back option for all of our products categories by 2025. We will have, our goal is 100% circularity by 2028. And it will drive sales.
Yeah.
It's the only way to
so they do go hand in hand.
They do.
Yeah. So the final question before we move on, I can see I'm being waved at. All these female business owners in the room, what is your main tip for them for success? What would be the one thing you would
love what you
say?
do? Because if you really love what you do with people who you love working with, everything else works its way out. If it doesn't feel like what you're doing is a passion and very natural, and if it doesn't feel like you really like the people you're working with, then you might want to have a rethink about where you're spending your time.
Yeah, especially when it's your business.
Yeah. I mean, I've always chosen businesses on the basis of the people and the kind of product areas.
Yeah.
When I've had that opportunity to choose. So that would be my thought.
Brilliant.
Life is short. You need to do what you like.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much,
you so
Pippa.
much,
I
Kath,
hope
too.
everybody found that interesting. Thank you, everybody.